This video is to cover how to factor a quadratic trinomial when a is 1. Something's called a trinomial if it has 3 terms, so typically a quadratic is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And so when we're looking at this first example, my a value is 1 because I don't see it, so it's really 1x squared. So these are all examples where a is 1. When this is the case, we want to figure out what will multiply to equal 18 and what adds to equal 11. So we want it to multiply to be c, we want it to add to equal 11. This is also called product sum. So for 18, I'm just going to make a list of all the things that multiplies to be 18. And so that would be 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. And then I ask myself, well, which of these options would add to be 11? And that would be 2 plus 9. And so then my factors are x plus 2 and x plus 9. All right, number 2. So I'm going to write it with different terminology this time. I've got my product, which means I multiplied. My product is going to equal negative 24. And my sum, which means I added, is going to be 2. Since I have a product that is negative, I'm going to have opposite signs for something to multiply to be a negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. So I'm thinking about, okay, well, 1 times 24 is positive 24, and if I made the 1 negative, it would still add to be a positive number, even though it multiplies to be negative, but that doesn't make 2, it makes 23. So I could try negative 2 times 12, but that adds to be 10. Negative 3 times 8, but that adds to be 5. Negative 4 times 6 does add to be 2. And so my factors are x minus 4 and x plus 6. I'm going to take this opportunity to show you how to check this using a graphing calculator. We are taking a quadratic, which is a U-shaped graph, and we are changing its form. We're changing it from standard form to factored form. We have not changed the equation itself. And so I'm going to put the problem, which was x squared plus 2x minus 24, into the first line of Desmos or my TI-84 calculator. And then I'm going to put my factored form, x plus 6, x minus 4, and the order doesn't matter here. And what you'll see is these two forms fully overlap because they're just different forms of the same expression. They're equivalent forms. All right, so continuing on, I've got number 3 here, and I want the product to equal negative 30. So I'm going to make a list of all the things that multiply to be negative 30. And I want the sum, which means I added them together, to equal negative 1. So I have 1 times 30 is 30. I need one of those to be negative, and I need the sum to be negative, which means the bigger number would need to be negative. That adds to be negative 29, not negative 1. So this is a clue that my numbers need to be closer together. So like I could try, well, 3 times negative 10 multiplies to be negative 30. But that adds to be negative 7. So I'm going to try 5 times negative 6. Yes, that multiplies to be negative 30 and adds to be negative 1. So my factors are x plus 5 and x minus 6. My last example here for us is going to deal with x squared minus 6x plus 9. And I want the product to equal 9, and I want the sum to equal negative 6. I'm going to make a list of all the things that multiply to be 9. So that could be 1 times 9 or 3 times 3. Those are the only options of things that multiply to be 9. However, we need the sum to be negative. And the only way to get a positive 9 when we multiply is either 2 positives or 2 negatives. And so if I make both of these negative, they would add to be negative 10. That doesn't work. If I make both of these negative, they multiply to be positive 9 and add to be negative 6. That is my pair. So I'm going to have x minus 3 times x minus 3. Another way to write this, or that you may see on a multiple choice exam, would be x minus 3 to the second power squared, because that just means something multiplied by itself. And this is how you factor when a is 1.